Mayor.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for being here. We'll officially call the meeting to order. Public comment, I understand no one has signed up. Is that correct, Madam Clerk?
Yes.
And I just told him 5 minutes ago they couldn't sign up. Did I lie to him?
Well, what's the magic word? I bet the board.
Please.
I bet the board.
Please just say okay.
It's up to the board.
All right.
That will remember.
I can talk about anything I want to, right?
3 minutes.
Agenda.
Agenda items only.
Okay, what we got on the agenda here?
Yes.
Public comment.
Anything about the bike lane?
No, it's
No.
the RFQs.
Nothing about the bike lane, can I add something in there on
No.
that? Just a quick thing on the
Speak in the microphone. Tell us who you are. We don't know you.
My name is Will Carter, 108 Starfish Drive, Holden Beach, North Carolina. And I just want to say quick thing about the bike lane. Just take a minute. Just an observation.
Can't
You
do
can't
that.
do that, Will.
Okay.
You could do
Well-
it next Tuesday.
You guys keep diddling around about this pier, right? That other pier's been there since 1959. It was built the year I was born, 1959. I've been here 63 years. That pier used to be 1,000 feet long. Used to be able to catch fish off the end of it. We got pilings out there that show where it's been. It's grandfathered in out there. They built Chip here, built Jeanette's Pier out there, and it was a beautiful pier. Don't have to worry about the handicap ramp. Got a ramp going up to the pier house. Now, you're talking about patching up the little bit of pier out there that you can wade around and not catch anything on. That's why nobody goes up there. You can't catch any fish. Nobody stays out there all night because you can't catch any fish. You're talking, all I've done all my life is rebuild old buildings, and the old building down there is worth rebuilding. You patch it up, rent it a little while while you build a new pier, but you don't need to patch that pier. You don't need to patch that building. You need to build a new one. There are very few piers around that are nice as the one Chip built up in the Axe Head. And this is something you guys need to get together and do something. You know what I mean? Quit diddling around, build us a pier. Yeah, I live in Raleigh. I've got a house in Raleigh, and they spend more than $1 billion fixing the 440 belt line about every year. And you know, the little bit of money to take to build a pier down there is not much. But you guys get on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Will. It's always a pleasure to hear from you. All right, number 3, discussion. Mr. Murdoch and Miss Pat. It's your item.
Well, we have 2 proposals in front of us from the engineering firm that we selected. One from Pinnacle on Block Q design proposal, and the second from EMH on the pier project site planning proposal. So I think each of these we need to discuss if there are any questions, any changes that need to be requested, any additional information. And then there are budgets proposed that will also need approval of some budget amendments. So basically, if we start with the Pinnacle Block Q design proposal, what comments or questions do people have? I could start, because the one thing that I noted was one of the things that isn't laid out is about how much time do you expect each of these first 2 phases to take, because that's kind of important in our overall as we plan things.
Yes, please.
I'm sorry, could you introduce him?
This is Randy Baker from Pinnacle, is the principal there.
Thank you very much. Let me turn this around. I'll drop the mic here. My name is Randy Baker, Pinnacle Architecture. The 2 phases that you see there depends a lot on when we can get the TIA study done to schedule the engineers to actually do the engineering work, layout, the project, things like that. We're looking about 3 to 4 weeks, something like that. But what we'd like to do, closing Carolina Avenue, that type of stuff, we need to make sure that all of the setbacks, things like that are taken care of, because when we do the drawing, we want to make sure it's representative of what you're going to get, not just a splash artist render. So it may take, to get the TIA study, it may take a little bit longer, but to get you something that we feel comfortable with, and probably 3 to 4 weeks, somewhere in that range. To actually do the documents, that may take 2 to 3 months, something like that. But we can go as quickly or as slowly as you would like to go. We're ready to get started as soon as you guys are ready to go.
Randy, another question. I know it's in the RFQ, the traffic impact study. Can you explain what that's gonna involve?
Yes.
And how it's gonna affect the project?
Right. The TIA study is, we will have traffic engineers that will come. They'll actually sit at the bridge, and they will count cars for an extended period of time. And we're doing one right now for a school we're doing up in Wadesboro. That has taken about 3 weeks, 4 weeks to get that study done. Something this small won't take that long. They're coming out of Raleigh, the firm that we're looking at. So that probably won't take but maybe 2 to 3 weeks, once I get those guys scheduled.
So if you're talking within the next few weeks, this time of year, the Holden Beach traffic.
There's nothing. That's correct.
Than it would be in July. Is that gonna?
That,
that gonna be a fair-
that could, but I don't think with the town or DOT, things like that, I think there is probably enough record that I don't think that's going to impact that much. Yes.
We can probably synchronize your efforts with the Grand Strand MPO.
Right.
Which Holden Beach is part of, to get some pretty good data.
That's perfect.
That'll complement that effort.
That's perfect. Thank
So in other words, you're saying you extrapolate from data from unbusy season when you have data that you can blend in from busy
you.
season?
That is correct. Yes.
Got it.
That was the only question I had.
My only question is, as far as the master plan is concerned, you said it was, block Q, a new toilet facilities and parking for the public. Well, I think my vision of this is, of course, is to aid the wildlife ramp with boat
Right.
parking on the south side, the north side, and then a relatively a green area, and then perimeter parking around it. I think until however, when this is done, whatever green area it is, could be, where it could be in the future, change to parking if it is required by the Corps of Engineers or whatever. So in other words, when we do it, don't do it where we have to go back and do it again.
Exactly.
Okay, that's my only thing, but we won't need a green space, perimeter, parking, basically what it is now, and then especially for the boaters and so forth, that's
Right.
important, to keep, this is, people that like to fish and don't have, lucky enough to have homes where they can park their boats there, they've gotta have a place to get them in and out of the water, as well as our guests.
I'm with you.
Got it.
I'm with you.
Thank
Yes,
you,
sir.
sir.
I'm a fisherman, so I know exactly where you're coming from.
Brandon,
So,
you understand?
Yes, sir. There's one thing in that proposal, and we discussed this briefly on the toilet facilities. We need to discuss a little bit about those toilet facilities with the inspector, because you do have a bandstand, and the number of toilet fixtures that we will discuss, how many you need at that location. So, but that's just my opinion.
I'm done, yes, ma'am.
Okay, I have a couple questions about the master plan. We're talking about what Rick was saying about the green space, because I think originally it had been discussed that make that whole area a parking lot, and that's been shown that that's not the most favorable thing to most of the residents here. So when we go back to that green space, as far as the bathrooms go, would that be, an area that we could consider maybe some outside showers or indoor showers to facilitate shower usage for the walkways?
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
there's been a lot of interest about, we used to have a dog park that was at the end of a residential area, and they had to use that for the dredging. And I know there's a couple of streets that have been mentioned, like Seagull and Sand Dollar, and that was Scotch Bonnet, about doing a dog park in that area. But I was wondering if it'd be more feasible place to put a dog park in the public areas. If there's room for that there, if that could be taken into consideration. I think one of the problems with being in a residential area is the police had to police it more because at night, there was things that were happening at night, that weren't dog-related.
Right.
And increased traffic to the residential areas. I think if you take, and Seagull was just paved, so if you put a dog park at the end of there, I think it's gonna cause a raceway to get to it. So
Right.
I know there's been a lot of interest about replacing the dog park, but I think listening to other people, that have lived on residential areas. I didn't live on the residential area when the dog park was there, so I can't say anything, but some of the people that lived there said, at night and during the day, there was problems. So I just thought that might be a good area, a public, open area, and the police wouldn't have to put, police the area at night, put chains up and stuff like that.
And you could, once you close Carolina Avenue and that little area there in front, you're going to have plenty of parking, when I say plenty. It will be what it will be. But site lighting out there for dog park, that type of stuff, and your parking area, that would really suffice that area.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
yes, ma'am.
Anybody else? Ms. Pat?
No,
Mr.
it's a-
Bryan, you got anything else on that?
If I understood, it was 3 to 4 weeks to get a sort of a drawing, but 2 to 3 months to have all of the documents finalized, and that's really going to be driven mostly by the TIA.
That's correct. And we'll have to get the Corps involved and things like that. So, yeah, Mr. Norris, local engineer here, he will be assisting us in this process. So.
Will it have to be, will it have to be resurveyed? Don't we have pretty current?
I think you've got survey.
Survey's on it
We may need a little bit more survey. We did look at the survey. There might be a little bit more, but from my understanding, that won't take long to get. So,
Cool.
thank you very much.
Randall, thank you, sir.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Are we through with number 3?
You got 3B.
Yeah. Do we want to approve the ordinance associated with Block Q while we're at it and just do this in order?
You can approve both of them simultaneously. if you
At the
like.
end? Okay, so,
Well, when I say both of them, the proposal and the ordinance, because they go hand in hand.
right. Okay, so if I move to approve the budget amendment specifically for Block Q, which is represented in ordinance number 2223, the ordinance amending 2214 revenues and appropriations for fiscal year 2223, it would be amendment number 2. So
Can you make a motion?
I'm moving that we approve the budget amendment and the ordinance.
I'll second it.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. You still have the floor, Ms. Pat.
Oh, so, with the one, with the, okay.
Your motion was to just approve. You said
Sorry, the town manager has just reminded me that we also have to approve the proposal as put forward with the time that's been indicated for 3 to 4 weeks for an initial rendering and 2 to 3 months for the full document. So I move that we approve the proposal with those times indicated.
I'll second that again.
Okay.
For clarity, Madam Clerk, would you read that motion as you understand it?
The motion itself was approved and proposal with the times indicated and the times for the 3 to 4 weeks for the study and the 2 to 3 months for the document.
Okay. Everybody understand? Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. It's unanimously approved. You still have the floor.
Okay, for the peer project site planning proposal, which is page 4 through 6. I'll start with the same question I had. Chip is here from BMH, so I will address my question. The same thing is simply an estimated time that you anticipate for completing the schematic master planning phase that you have indicated here.
Well, based on the proposed reworking of the existing building and add some added features to the pier associated with the new building, I think we could, as soon as we get the survey. And the survey, we do need a detailed site survey. We've got the plot plan, but we need a little more information than that. I would think 2 months.
Okay. And the town manager has told me that we will be able to get that survey conducted fairly rapidly. So
Okay.
you're simply saying from the time that we deliver the survey, about 2 months?
Right.
Okay.
And we could have some interim presentations, whoever is going to be monitoring it on a daily basis, or I can present a draft site plan and, so like the other project. We can go as fast or as slow as you need us to, but we want to make sure you're on board with how it's progressing before we finish. So we can decide on, when a good time to meet, 1 month into it or that seems reasonable. Typically meet with my clients during the process.
The board could say that at the January Board of Commissioners meeting, it would be timely to have a presentation of where we are.
Well, given the timeline that he just gave us, that would be the appropriate meeting to have, and that'd be about the, 15th of January?
Yeah,
18th.
something like that.
Depending on the survey.
Yeah, depending on the
Always
survey.
going to take longer than you think.
Now, David, we didn't do a survey when we purchased that property?
Plot plan.
Get a plot, what is, the fixtures on the plot have to be surveyed. We've got a surveyor standing by, but that survey isn't of the level of detail that Chip needs in order to move forward.
But we can get that done so he can continue in a timely manner. Thank you,
We
David.
need a camera line on it and a lot of other things. Site features that aren't yet identified on the drawing.
Well, I would say we can, once the survey is done, we can get with you about when an appropriate time might be, because if it can all be organized around a Board of Commissioners meeting, it makes it easy for the
Right.
public and us. But, I'm not going to hold something up for a whole month waiting for a Board of Commissioners meeting. So we'll just, once the survey's done, we can talk to you
Yeah,
about
sure.
when would be appropriate.
And we'll try to work it in best we can to accommodate the meeting schedules.
Appreciate that. It's hard to come up with special meeting dates.
And, I know we talked, my initial statement, I don't want to digress too much, my initial statement was that maybe you should think about replacing the building. And I know the original RFQ stated a master plan for maybe a new facility. But our proposal strictly, at this point, is for the existing facility rehabilitation.
Chip, along with that plan, again, before we can request any grant support or anything like that, we have to have a master plan, correct?
Right, yeah.
Would that be something that can be done in tandem, or is that not feasible?
Well, when and if any grants that might be available are identified, we can go after them with whatever. Typically, most of the grants that we respond to, the owner comes to us with a grant. We help satisfy the requirements of the grant application. Now, I don't know what kind of grants you might get with building this below flood level, but we certainly can investigate.
I know you said this, and I understand the comment about the building, being in iffy shape, and thoughts of taking it down and building a new building. If we do that, we have to build an elevated building, don't we?
That's correct.
So we will have to meet the flood, so we will be on stilts and we will be X feet up in the air.
That's correct.
I just wanted that confirmed for everybody,
Yes.
that means we are elevated.
Right. And, it depends on where the camera line is, whether that building could go oceanward of your existing building, which would give you a little more room in your parking lot, all the factors that weigh into the design of that, but would come into play once the survey really is.
Need to survey.
Need the
Yeah.
survey.
And, some of y'all may know right off that the building's at the camera line or not. I can't recall about my one trip out there.
We would require survey.
Is it in front?
What do you mean, is it where it should be?
I mean, is it in front of the existing building?
You put building up where it's at. It's on, it can be put where it's at.
A new one?
Just gotta go up.
It's on the landward side of the camera from the.
Right. I don't know if there's any space in front of that before you get to
Between
it.
where it is now, between that front of the building now, we might be directly behind it, but unless my memory serves me wrong, it might be 3 feet.
Right.
Not a whole lot of room.
Yeah. So, you just come up with a completely different master plan at that point, trying to get people up to the pier level and the pier house level. But at this point, we're not pursuing, just to be clear.
You could build a flood-proof structure there
Yeah.
at ground level. But it'd be cheaper than, it costs more than rebuilding the beltway around Raleigh.
Yeah.
It'd be very expensive to build a flood-proof
Flood-proof.
structure on the ground.
Right, we just built a flood-proof bathroom in Wrightsville Beach. It was flood-proof of 8 feet above finished floor. And it was expensive for what it is. Two toilet fixtures in each one. I think it was $600,000.
It's almost 3 to 4 times a normal cost.
Right. But I can't remember, and I don't want to take up your time trying to design something that we haven't, but how the current building is 6 feet below flood? Is that right?
I have never tried to figure out exactly where its low structural memory is in relationship to that base flood elevation. Or the town's design flood elevation, either one. But if I had to take a wild guess, I'd say somewhere between 6 and 7 feet.
And then
I
2 foot,
agree with that. That's probably about right.
2 foot freeboard, is that correct?
Well, I was just including that.
Okay. Well, 6 or 7 feet, that's not too bad.
Now, you can't hold me to that because I don't have a survey.
Right.
We're just guesstimating, it's okay,
Yeah.
Tim, we understand.
Yeah,
We're
so
gonna get a survey.
just an overview, just like, we're going to measure up the existing building, examine the existing conditions, try to come up with, we will come up with what kind of ADA accessible restrooms could facilitate the businesses that might occupy the building, and ADA restrooms that would serve as bathhouse restrooms for people who aren't just going to the beach, associated with some showers. And so if at some point after that, and after you get running, we can look at a new building, or anything, new pier, or new extend the existing pier out to at least its original length. So I've got some time in there for Neil Andrews, structural engineer, so we can kind of look at that and kind of come up with a laundry list of what all that's going to involve, and as far as regulatory approvals and just discussion of how it might be built from the water, I'm sure, I would think.
I got a couple questions.
Okay.
I'm gonna pile on to what Will had to say. There's a couple ways to look at this, going forward. If you go in that building and you say, this is a hopeless case, we don't wanna throw a ton of money after something that may, we kind of maybe need to think about it as a board of doing some kind of comparison, because you say it's gonna take X amount of dollars to fix up this older building, which is probably within our budget at this point in time, or it's gonna take, it would cost you this to build a new one, which we probably don't have the money, without grants and that type of thing. But I mean, we have to be forward-looking, I think, a little bit in doing this. So if you got in there and it's whatever the outcome is, whatever you determine the outcome is, I mean, if you would please keep us abreast of that. Also, reading in here, we're renovating the existing pier, fixing it basically. I assume we would be fixing it to the standard where it would give us some time, where it would last, and we could add on to it, meaning the first, if we add on to it at the end, it's gonna be built new because it's not there anymore. So we kind of want, I would think, to get to the new part, the older part would have to be brought up at least in very substantial condition to even vouch for adding on to the end of it. So I'm a little, like, what we want to do here, I'd hate to make the decision, but I'd like to see a comparison. We chose you because you do this stuff.
Right.
We chose you because you built some of the nicest facilities I've ever seen. And I think if we're gonna do this, that's what we kind of want. I mean, if we could say that's what we wanted and we could afford it, that's what we would do.
Right.
But,
Well, we need a master plan to apply for any grants, right?
yeah, so we don't know how to proceed from here as a, sitting behind this, I don't.
I understand.
So I really want you to be the guy that says, you guys shouldn't do this. It's dumb. And tell us, when what we're thinking is just not the right direction.
Okay, well,
And I know you said that going in and fixing that old building maybe not be the right direction.
that's what I said initially, but then just kind of reading the tea leaves of what might be the budget, which I don't know what it is, but I assume it's not in the cards at this time until maybe the existing facility start to have some income.
Here's my kind of maybe not so common sense thinking. If we put a little money in the building that's there, people are wanting to use it, people are wanting to get back on the pier, although it's short and you don't really catch many fish, they're wanting to get on it
Right.
and enjoy it. So we could throw a little money at what's there, and it may last. Who knows how much? And we may get another 50 years out of that thing. And we may get another 15 minutes. We got something else coming at us at the end of the
It's hard to
week.
know.
You don't know.
Right.
So that's kind of a catch-22, but
Yeah.
would we like a brand-new facility? Absolutely. Well,
Well, I get,
You just have to tell us when something's
Well,
just not.
Could we not get started with it and, or to, get it to where we can use it for now and then you develop a plan for a shiny new facility and
right. That's kind of the way I thought it might,
that would make the best sense to me.
it might happen.
Let's
But,
crawl before we walk.
you know, just a
what,
off-the-cuff assessment of when David and I walked the site a month ago, whenever it was the pier was in a lot better shape than the pier house. And the pier was surprisingly straight and solid to its end. Of course, it used to be longer. And if you needed to have it running and produce income before you took off that big bite to build a new pier, you could build a new pier house, you could go around the pier house to build a new pier. They're all, that might, to me, that in my mind, just immediately was the scenario that might have been the best way to go forward. But if you need to get it going before you build the new pier house and then build the new pier, 10, 20, 50 years from now, then so be it. Then, we'll get it going any way you would like. Any way that fits in the budget.
is that building flooding now?
No. No.
It's only going to periodically flood on a storm event.
Well, my lot used to not flood until 2016. It's 4 times since then.
I mean, it's,
Huh?
back wall's been compromised.
Do what?
a couple times.
Probably.
It's been compromised a couple times, the back wall, from talking to Gil, and I've been here since the 80s.
Right.
And that pier's been there, and that building's been there.
Yeah.
And that building hadn't really been in
I
a
just,
whole lot better shape than it's in right now, to be honest with you.
yeah, I
Right.
just,
And people enjoy it, and we could get, nobody knows how much time we could get out of it. If we don't do anything to it, it won't be a lot, but if we certainly could get it into a rentable condition for a little while and crawl before we walk. But if it's just, you wouldn't spend $5 on it, I'm just asking you to say, I wouldn't spend $5 on it. And that's what we need to hear, and then we'll make further decisions after getting your information. So we want to do what's right, and we,
Okay. Well, I think once we get the survey, we see where the camera line is, we could make a very quick evaluation of, say you built a 2-story building that's on piles right in the footprint of where it is now. You can move it 3 feet, oceanward, great. Move it 3 feet, you can make the ramp come down. We could make a very quick assessment of that. But building a, if there's no other way forward, you spend the money on the building you have, but it is, I don't have to tell you.
Enough building to make the pier accessible.
What's that?
Enough use the building that's there now to make the
Yeah.
pier accessible.
Well, yeah, but I think, as discussed last time, the building, you won't be able to access the pier from an ADA accessibility standpoint through the building. You have to go around it, from what I understood Tim saying.
Okay.
So it's just a matter of dollars, really, the equation, and what you can stand, and certainly we want to bring it back to life, and that's what we're in the business of doing, and we're going to help you any way, whatever best fits your overall plan.
Thank you, Chip.
Any more questions? Thank you, sir.
Appreciate you, y'all, both of you guys taking
Thank
time
you.
to come down tonight.
Ms. Pat, you and Mr. Murdoch still have the floor.
Okay, I guess, motion to approve the Pier Project site planning proposal that has been provided with the added information that the schematic master planning phase will take approximately 2 months from the time of receipt of a detailed site survey. So motion to approve the plan.
Second.
All right, have a motion, second, discussion, please. Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, say no.
And then the motion to approve the budget amendment, authorizing town manager to execute the contract, and to approve ordinance 2224, which is the ordinance amending our revenues and appropriation ordinance for the fiscal year, amendment number 3.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Unanimous. You still have the floor, ma'am.
Thank you, Brian,
You're welcome.
for putting your name on this along with me. We are going to discuss the RFQ document for the stormwater management and consulting services, that the draft that has been put in the packet by the town staff. It is very similar to a Surf City RFQ that I had found and sent to the town clerk as an example. And I know that the Surf City RFQ did get quite a bit of action from engineering firms. So it was a pretty complete and I think clear RFQ. So to have one that's very similar, I would hope would give us a good response as well. And I only had a couple questions, comments to the town staff. One was on the department profile. It says portions of the system date back to the 1950s, with some areas of town with no infrastructure in place currently. I think that was a statement in Surf Cities as well, and I just want to make sure that that is also accurate for the description of our town, because I have found some documents that just sort of refer to our stormwater system as, you know, DOT town, and it's kind of old. But does ours date from the 50s as well?
I can double check that, Cat, really, what it's being addressed, I have a writing from Ocean Boulevard, across the page, that's probably about that time, on the quick basis, what you're at, that's on here today, on the stretch right there.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that if we say the 1950s, that we actually do have something that we can say, this is our evidence, that it wasn't just a cut and paste kind of thing.
We might go to double check that.
Okay, because I know in our land use plans, things are written sort of like our systems exist and they're owned and operated by DOT or private systems, and that there was an ordinance that was developed in 1998 kind of stuff. So I've never found anything that really gave a date for the oldest stuff. And then the only other question I had was under the initial scope of work, whether or not it was appropriate to specifically add at this point, having the vendor assist in identifying, applying for and securing grants and any other types of funding available. If that would be appropriate to add as an initial scope of work. Or that's my own question, just reading various documents that I've seen. Sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not.
Well, I guess if it is running, but what comes planning, you know, so everything, if they have that in there.
I'm just asking whether it's a good thing to just add it in here as as an initial scope of work, does it help to maybe clarify? I mean, we do know that there are engineering firms that have people in there that work on grants.
I guess it was, it was extra in the box, working with Andrew in the box. That was there.
I mean, is it going to rule people out that we might consider otherwise?
I don't know.
I think you should include, stormwater, firm, stormwater RFQs are probably more standardized than the other two that y'all have just gone through. Those were one-off, site-specific requests for qualifications and proposal responses back to you. Stormwater utilities are most of the time, and in this case, are broad-based, city, town, county-wide stormwater requests. And if it does serve to curtail the competition, and I'm asking this rhetorically, I mean, you want folks that are well-versed in what type of money is available through granting programs. I would think that you would want those type firms responding to it.
Then if we added under initial scope of work,
Matter of fact, I think any RFQ that goes out should include some type of qualifier.
I was going to get there on the water one as we develop it. Then if we added, would it be appropriate to add something such, like, for the vendor will assist in identifying, applying for, and securing grants and other types of available funding? And that's just like the fourth, what I call task in the scope of work? Did you capture that, Heather?
I'll get it from the recording.
Okay.
You're good.
Because that then would finish that out. Then you might like to then, in the submittal of qualifications, add that information you would like would be stormwater infrastructure grant money that has been obtained over, and I don't know, the past 3 years or a period of time. It would just be more information that you would be asking for from the vendor to help make the selection. Do you agree?
Sure.
Does it make sense? Okay.
Normally when those responses, or you actually request, solicit RFQs, normally there's provide an opportunity for the vendor or the proposal to show off their wares and proof of what they've done, and type projects they've worked on, grants, that kind of thing. Very straightforward.
And I know we don't have the time, we don't have times in here yet, but once it's determined that it's ready and it's sent out, what is the time that you're proposing that this be out there, and where are you planning to advertise it? I mean, I saw Surf City, they gave basically 2 months, or we think
We'd follow that same
You think we-
timeline.
okay. Where are we gonna propose to advertise it?
We'll do the normal newspaper, but we'll also post it to the North Carolina City County Managers Association site, and also legal municipalities, in addition to, if there are suggestions for specific firms to solicit, we'll include those if the commissioners are positive, anybody that else, or anybody that may know of would be interested to get some of those too.
I mean, I have noticed that there's stuff sometimes put on something called bid.com, and there's also a construction, there's another website that things go up on that I've been able to grab example RFQs from. Have we ever used any of those?
I'm not aware of them, I haven't touched
I mean, I can forward the information as I have it, if it's someplace that it's valuable to put them. But, yeah, we can, I mean, I know I can send at least 3 firms that I know of that have gotten stormwater projects that have been advertised as successful or getting grants or stuff in my reading from the last year or so.
Yeah, there's some out there that's got $659 million in stormwater grants in the past few years. There's some firms that are reputable for being able to get the money we need.
stormwater's gonna be a different pool of solicitees than the one-off boutique firms that we pick for the 2 projects that we just
That's
told
right.
Mr. Craig tonight. I think the pool of respondents will be a lot larger.
Good.
So,
When can we put this out?
well, if Chris confirms this question on what we say in terms of how old some of our stuff dates back to, and the 2 additions that we just discussed about grant funding and making sure that grant money obtained is another part of the submittal of qualifications, I would think that could be done fairly quickly.
It's
and
probably gonna
we
be
could-
next week before they go out.
Yeah.
Because we've got a storm coming in on us.
Yeah.
And we don't know what's gonna go on with that. We're off Friday, not covered weekends.
No, no, and I just
Tomorrow
wondered
and the next day,
if
so-
we want to see it again on Tuesday, just, or is it, everybody understands what the changes are, or do we want to see it again Tuesday?
Did you have approved of those changes?
I can I mean, if nobody else has any reservations about it, go ahead.
No, I just read Surf City's entire thing. I didn't see anything about a requirement for the grants. I just,
No,
So it was saying adding it in.
we're adding it.
I,
It is in, there's quite a few fairly recent RFQs floating around for stormwater and other infrastructure. And some of them, I've been reading, they put it in there as, they want it clear that they're gonna want help on this. Others don't put it in as a upfront. I think that putting it in as upfront probably gets us the most highly qualified groups that have that ability to specify
it should,
I think. So if everybody agrees on that, yes, we can approve it, you guys can make it, and it can get sent out as soon as you have time to do it next week.
Sounds good to me.
So motion to approve the RFQ with the indicated changes, corrections.
second.
Discussion?
I'm good with it.
Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, say no. It's unanimously passed, Madam Clerk.
Then the only other one is can we just discuss what is going to be done for, we say it's the water tower request, but it's sort of a, it's sort of an assessment of water use, the need for more water, and then how to provide more water if it's needed, correct? It's not just what do we do for a water tower, it's first establishing the need for the capacity.
We need a water capacity study. And at the last board meeting, the board directed me to not only do we do the water capacity, but it's also gonna have to encapsulate, fire flow. And include build out those kinds of things. I have not, refined the draft yet, but we're working on it. We're gonna pull that together and send it out.
Well, I was just, one of the things I realized after we left that meeting is that we didn't have any discussion about sort of time frame when there would be a draft, so.
Well, I took it to get it done, David,
Yeah,
so that means.
December,
set it on
yeah, it's gonna be a December timeframe.
the-
to
Oh,
have-
absolutely. If I can get it done before Thanksgiving is what I'd like to do. Get it out on the street and then follow the same timeline that we did on the, stormwater, as far as getting responses.
Sounds great, David.
Okay.
That would work well.
Here's the one thing That's it. I don't think we need anything more.
Madam Clerk, have we completed the agenda?
Yes, sir.
Is there a motion we adjourn?
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn, please.
Second? All right, all in favor, say aye.
So it's, but that's.
We're adjourned.